fights that have taken place upon the Rappahannock in our splendid victories. I cannot give you a detailed account of the fight, but I will endeavor to give you some idea of it. On the morning of the 29th of April, we were startled by the roar of cannon and musketry near Fredericksburg. We were immediately under arms and proceeded to the scene of conflict. Owing to the dense fog, the Yankees had but very little trouble in throwing across their pontoons. This was below Fredericksburg, some 3 miles and about opposite Hamilton's Crossing. We were halted at the last named place and were formed in line of battle towards the approach of the enemy, but no fighting took place except a little cannonading on both sides. We remained there till the first day of May, when between midnight and day we were again put on the march up the river, having found that the enemy were only making a feint. Proceeding up the river some 8 or 10 miles, we were again thrown into line of battle, not doubting but that we would have to work. Again, nothing but a little skirmishing. Night came, so we bivouacked and camped. Early the next morning, we resumed the march, making a flank movement and reached the enemy's flank about 5 in the evening of Saturday. Rowe's division, now ordered to advance, and the struggle commenced. We charged the enemy through one of the thickest swamps and woods I ever saw. At last, reaching the open field, we encountered a battery, but still pressing on through musketry, shell, and grape shot. We soon captured every gun, and then came the pursuit, which lasted until dark. We having driven the enemy some 2 miles, getting into dense pine thickets when the brigade was ordered to halt. The old 12th still kept on and did not stop until we found ourselves alone and within 200 yards of another battery, which commenced throwing shell and grape into us. We succeeded in reaching a little hollow where we lay down and protected ourselves as best we could. At last, everything becoming quiet, the question now to get back to our own lines, so we started expecting every minute to be fired into by our own men, and we could also hear the Yanks advancing in our rear. We at last reached our lines in safety in about 10 minutes. Owing to the confusion and darkness, our own men did fire into each other, wounding Stonewall Jackson, causing him to have one of his arms amputated, and also slightly wounding A.P. Hill. We were fortunate in getting out at the time, as no doubt some of us should have been killed. The fight then ceased for the night, and we lay down and slept on the battleground by lines. The next morning, Sunday, our lines were formed and moved forward. We had 3 lines of battle. Ours was the third. During the night, the enemy constructed formidable breastworks of logs. From these, they were charged and driven by the first line. The second line were ordered to charge a battery. This they refused to do. South Carolinians at that. General Stewart, the cavalryman, was then commanding Jackson's corps. We told him we would go, and leaping over the breastworks and led by Stewart, we charged them, taking a few broken guns and a great many prisoners. Our brigade being about the center of the line, as soon as we charged and broke the center of the Yankee line, there was a general stampede of both wings. We continued to advance until we came near another battery, and owing to our force being small and no support, believing we were compelled to fall back behind the breastworks we had just left. On our way back, it seemed that the air was full of shell and grape. Our cannon then came up and took position near the Yankees' works, and an artillery duel took place. Our battery succeeded in silencing the batteries and driving them to the field. This ended the fight of Chancellorsville, and our brigade was ordered back to the rear to rest and collect our scattered men. Can I give you any idea of the scene I saw? The mangled bodies, the dead and wounded were lying thick everywhere, but from what I saw, I think the enemy's loss far exceeded ours. I'd say at least 4 or 5 to 1. I never saw as much plunder in any fight as the Yankees threw away coats, blankets, oilcloths, caps, canteens, haversacks, etc., of which our boys supplied themselves bountifully. A man could have almost got anything he wanted. In the evening, we were again ordered to the front, where we were again put in order of battle and remained until the next evening. We were then taken out of our entrenchments by the roadside and put upon the left in the woods. We were told that we would have an hour and a half to fortify, so at it we went with a will constructing breastworks of logs and including to throw up dirt. But about the time we had got the logs, the enemy advanced their skirmishers and drove in ours. We were then certain of a fight, but they only wished to see what we were doing. We went down to work again, and by digging and spading soon had a good breastwork thrown up. I was surprised to see them so soon, for it would have taken the same men a week to have done it in any other time. Here we remained until Wednesday morning. W.W. Pearman was killed here in a skirmish. They were ordered to advance upon the enemy to see what they were doing for the night before we could hear them cutting and driving distinctly. They advanced within 200 yards of the enemy and returned when Pearman was shot through the head and died instantly. While we were here, it rained a day and night part of the time in torrents, but having supplied ourselves with small Yankee tents, we managed to keep pretty dry. Our time here and that of the enemy was not more than half a mile apart. On Wednesday morning, our skirmishers were again ordered to advance, it being found out that the enemy was crossing the river and pick up all the stragglers who were not a few. About 2 o'clock that evening, we were ordered back to our camp near Guinea Station. It still continues to rain, and our camp being some 18 or 20 miles off, we did not reach it until 10 or 11 o'clock that night, and some, or rather the most of the men, came in the next day. It was quite dark, raining in the mud in places knee-deep. I never have seen but one time before that could come up with it. After getting here, we went into our cabin and made a fire, but it was day by the time we had accomplished it. Our camp had been broken up and the wagons ordered off, so yesterday we were busy putting up tents and getting everything to right. I never was more tired or sore in my life, but feel very well otherwise. Last night I got a good night's sleep and rest being the first. Good night's sleep and rest being the first for 9 days and nights. The casualties of our company are not very great considering the fighting we had to do. I'll give you a list before I get through. I escaped well, being with the company all the time and did not receive a scratch. I felt very thankful for God for preserving my life and by His allowing us to again turn back the invader. I cannot imagine what will be the next move, but think we will remain here some time yet, probably until the enemy makes some movement, which I do not think they will do in some time. I heard we took 8,000 prisoners. General Early's line fought, but I cannot give you any other particulars of his fight. You will learn of it from the papers. The enemy cavalry made a raid nearly to Richmond, but did not do much damage. I see from the papers that General Forrest took 1,600 cavalry prisoners near Rome, Georgia. I must close for this time and write again in a few days. I've never got my box yet. Captain Green went to Richmond and he says it was not there. I hope you will turn up soon. Hope they will turn up soon. I received your letter of the 27th of April. George Cochran is dead. He was sent home from the hospital sick and died. I learned this from an officer of his company. When will Bud come home? That's his brother. I am anxious to know what arrangements you and Marshall made about his remaining a short time at home. I like the sample you sent of my shirt. I'm afraid it is most too fine for me to ruin here in the war. I was glad the money came to hand so soon, but I knew it would be all right, for Wiley is a clever man. Nothing more present. My warmest love to Mother, Bud, and all the children, also all the Negroes, and especially all friends. Accept a large share of love yourself, your most affectionate son, Herbert G. Scott. List of killed and wounded. William Pearman killed. James Bullard, leg cut off. Robert Young, shoulder slight. Robert Young's jacket is the 12th Georgia jacket that still exists, that this jacket is based on. Frank Maddox, foot slight. McElroy, bruise slight. F. Souther slight. Somebody else slight. C. Batchelor. S. Batchelor, finger shot off. James Davis, arm slight. Killed and wounded regiment, number 80 in number. P.S. I thought I'd give you the outlines of the battlefield, but I missed it. I don't think you can understand from my drawing, but if I can, I will draw another part of the field I was on and close this. Whit Tompkins, Thomas, and Charlie Morton were not hurt. Whit is now a lieutenant in his company. Attention, company. Shoulder, arms. Present, arms. Shoulder, arms. Order, arms. Break ranks, march.
I was looking at his picture that on the back there. Is he wearing a Hardy?
This is an 1861.
Okay, I know it kind of looked like